Good morning, friends. It is lovely to be here with you today. And this is going to take some getting used to again. This is Journey Home Meditation's morning sit. I am Michael, and I'll be here today taking us through some basic breathing practices, a little mindfulness meditation, some contemplation, and probably get to some poetry. And I'm very, very happy to be here today. Thank you for joining, friends. So it's been 8 or 9 months, something like that, since we were together last, and we're now in the Journey Home side of the Journey Home Community Care Complex that we have down here, the compound. And so I want to say thank you to Kayla, who works with Journey Home, and she also leads the Saturday morning Southern Oregon meditation sessions, the kirtan and meditation. That'll be occurring this morning after the Journey Home morning sit. So you can go to journeyhome.care and check out our entire schedule there, and that's on the schedule, and that's today. So today may actually be chair yoga, but I'm not sure, but she's leading it either way. So come on in today, and you can participate in some of these activities if you happen to live in the Southern Oregon area. Gosh, I'm going to be honest, it feels slightly awkward to be sitting in this seat in front of the camera and the computer and here with you all. But I am grateful. So why don't we just go ahead, before we get into anything else, let's invite the bell and take just a few solid moments of calm and allow our body to settle into this space and take a few intentional and deep breaths. When we talk about taking deep breaths in this practice, I want to clarify that I'm not talking about a breath like you've just emerged from being underwater for minutes at a time or doing something really physically active. We're not gulping to get all of the air in our body we can. It's not a oftentimes when people say take a deep breath, our instinct is to go and we breathe into our chest and we fill up and we encourage anxiety. So it's actually not the most calming thing. I think this is one of the reasons why when occasionally somebody says, take a breath when you're upset, it can be even more upsetting because in most people's experiences, when they take that kind of a breath, it doesn't do anything to calm the central nervous system or recenter the body or bring us into our space and time. And there's a good reason for that. And we can go into that a little bit, but we'll get into that later. For now, the breath that I'm looking for when I say deep is deep into the body, bringing the breath down into the bottom of the diaphragm. We're using our diaphragm to breathe, not the muscles in our ribs to expand our chest. We're going to be expanding the abdomen, the belly, and we're doing that by breathing slowly and controlled through the nose, and that belly will want to rise. And what's happening there is the diaphragm is pulling down into the belly, and it has to create space. So it moves all those little internal organs around. And that's the deep breath we're looking for. Slow and controlled in, and then release out of the mouth if you'd like. But when you release slow and entirely. It's hard to share what this might look like through a computer screen, but we're going to do our best. And so let's invite the bell, and we'll take 3 breaths. Breathing in. And breathing out. Breathing in. Breathing out. Letting it drain. Relax the shoulders, straighten the back, level the chin, breathing in. Big, big bellies. And release. Just be in that space for just a moment. Wow, it's amazing how, as you develop your practice over time, you'll begin to see that it really is quite immediate that you feel the benefit or the connection to your practice. Even with just a few breaths like that, it can bring you right into that centered space. It takes time to develop that kind of relationship with our bodies, especially for anyone like myself who spent most of my life learning how to distract, dissociate, and disengage with my body. My body held pain, but maybe even more alienating than the pain my body held for most of my life, and still holds, to be honest. My body experiences a lot of pain, but more destructive to my relationship to my body and myself than that pain, I think, is probably the shame and the guilt and the low self-worth that can be associated with chronic pain, or also having a different body type than we're told is the standard body type to have. Body dysmorphia and dysphoria, they're 2 different things, but they're both very real and very valid. And I think a lot more people than we know experience one or both of those issues, at least sometimes. I think this is a part and parcel of being in the society that we grew up in the West, here in America. If you're in the U.S. and you're listening to this, and this is the country that you were born in, you were born into a place that really has been attacked and inundated by corporate control and takeover of the public space. Advertisements everywhere. TV shows are advertisements. As a kid, we grew up watching our cartoons, our favorite cartoons, Saturday morning cartoons, and we're just now learning that actually Saturday morning cartoons was just a 4-hour commercial for selling toys and products. These These things were actually created by companies. It's amazing when we start to understand this, that as a child in the school systems, in the American public school systems, we had the 4 basic food group chart. Remember that? Does everybody remember the 4 basic food groups? Pardon me, I have some tea. Well, now I believe it's a food pyramid, or maybe there's even something else, but when we were kids, it was the 4 basic food group charts. And those were paid for by the meat and dairy industry, and they featured meat and dairy as really important parts of the human diet. I say all of this not to lambast capitalism. Of course, we want to be extremely critical and do our best to heal and understand our relationship to capitalism and step through it and away from it. But that's not what we're going to do this morning. I say this because I want to recognize that it doesn't matter who you are, your level of intelligence or your level of insight or your religious upbringing or your education or your class or your race, your gender, your sex, your sexuality, whoever you are within the system that is drowning in advertising, you are going to be affected in some way. And I think that for myself, it affected deeply my sense of not belonging because my body was different than others' bodies. So the work that we're doing when we're taking these breaths is to come home. It's like there's a part of our spirit, of our understanding our identity, of who we are, that has been a refugee for most of our lives. There's a part of us that stays distant from the body, and that same part stands by while we have those voices that come up about being too big or too small or too tall or too short or too fat or too thin, whatever it may be. And that sense of internal separation and division, of course, is going to manifest itself in a divided society. It's going to manifest itself as a divided family, as an unsupportive culture. And we're going to form beliefs that we are not supported and that it's not necessary to support one another. And we have a gaggle of these beliefs, and they come out in so many different ways. And it's not been made more clear to us than it is in social media, the way that we speak to each other through these platforms that are by and large created to have that type of language, to have that be the dominant form of communication. So the practice of taking breaths, and especially when we take these breaths together, when we sit in a space, whether it's a virtual space like this or a shared space in a room full of people, and we are breathing gently in through our nose to the bottom of our belly, enlarging our bellies and releasing entirely, the belly collapsing, the shoulders relaxing, the face and the eyes and the head all calming and coming into the body. All of our focus, awareness, and attention is now inside of this body that we have spent so much time and money and energy to escape. And now we're here. And not only are we here, sometimes within just a few breaths, we are safe. We are comfortable. We are even enjoying being in this body. And to do that with others transforms our experience of what it is to be alive and a human and a social creature and everything that we are right now. And it doesn't cost us a dime. but it benefits us greater than any checkbook could ever balance, right? And there's a lot happening. We can go into the science of it if you'd like. I'm going to ask right now if you are a part of this stream right now, and you have the ability to chat, whether you're on YouTube or Substack or Facebook, you should have the ability to use the chat feature. Say hello. Tell us where you are in the world, and use that space to communicate. Use that space to communicate about something positive, something that you are excited about. We use these spaces, YouTube, Facebook, Substack, to complain, to blame, to shame, to other, all these things on a daily basis. Why don't we start transforming our relationship to them by using them to connect, using them to heal, using them to support, and to love? A lot has happened in my life since I last sat on the cushion with you. And I have gone through some of the darkest and most difficult times internally that I think I've ever experienced in my life. A lot of transformation has been taking place. I think some of it began with the death of my father in March. That opened up a loss of a lot of identities that I think I was carrying on my back like a satchel full of ghosts. And it's funny, you can't see a ghost necessarily. You certainly can't hold one in your hands and feel the weight of it, but when you put them in that backpack and sling them over your shoulder and carry them around, boy, they are sure heavy. They get really heavy. And then something of great importance happens, and it changes and transforms us. And we have to allow that to occur. We have to allow ourselves to transform. We certainly can take the most terrible advice ever given by a 6th grader in our 6th grade yearbook that says never change. We can do that, but we're going to be absolutely miserable because of it. So something has to happen sometimes to remind us to transform. And so my father died. And at that point, I ceased being a son to a father. No more. That's a lot of identity. I ceased being the caretaker for my father. That's another identity. I ceased being, in some ways, the victim to my father's neuroses or his own insecurities or whatever it is that subjugates us to our parents. No matter the relationship we have with our parents, I think that there's always going to be, or there's often, I should say, often going to be expectations that we should feel a certain way or expectations that we should behave a certain way. And when my father died, that died with him. That's okay. I had to be able to allow that to transform. And that's something that began a deeper transformation inside of myself, that I'm still shedding a lot of identity. And a lot of those identities that I'm shedding, I have to, pry out and extract like a rotten tooth. It's painful. Healing is painful. Healing is the process of intentionally engaging with every painful memory that you have and learning how to accommodate, love, and accept yourself through that. It takes a lot of patience. And it takes a lot of allowance. And I happen to be in a family of people that are very supportive and allow me to be an absolute and utter mess. Sometimes an unbelievable asshole. Sometimes, there are days that I just simply can't seem to pull the strength to really do much of anything in the last few months. And I've been supported through that. And I am eternally grateful for the life that I have participated in cultivating for myself and my family, and for the love that we create together. Let's take a few breaths. Breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in through the nose. And out of the mouth. One more. I'm just feeling gratitude, so I want to let that happen. So I recently, just this last week, took a trip with Angela up to Portland. We visited with Finn and Owen and our friends Mara and Philip and Emmett, and we stayed at a friend's home, a lovely home that we were gifted the ability to sleep in. And it occurred to me when I was there that, hey, I'm actually in a place where other people meditate, where other people like to come together and meditate in the same room together. And not only am I in a place that has that, I have the embarrassment of riches to choose which space to go to for meditation practice. And immediately I start searching to see, there's the temples that I've gone to in the past. There's different practices that I've been invited into that I appreciate and feel fulfilled by participating in. But I was not looking for an ecstatic practice of chanting and dancing. I love doing that, absolutely, and I'll continue to do that. Participate in those activities, but I was looking for something different. And I found a group called Portland Friends of the Dhamma. And they hold space in a converted church building that has been a meditation hall for a number of years, decades, I think. And we had a wonderful session of sitting in a circle, silently breathing and finding our meditative spaces collectively without any guidance for 30 minutes, and then we shared. And it did something that I feel like was absolutely perfectly timed. It was like all of a sudden I'm sitting and I feel myself begin to crack open, like the pine cones that you hear about, the coniferous cones that require great amount of fire and heat to even be able to open, to propagate. I feel like that's what I've been experiencing in my body and my mind and my spirit for the past year almost, is this immense fire that has been raging through me. And finally it reached the space where I could crack open and the seeds just sprouted out. And that was the feeling I was having in the meditation. It was that I was cracking open. All of this was to crack me open. And it reinstilled immediately and reminded me of the importance of a sangha, of having people together to share a practice. Where we live here, it's more difficult. I found it to be extraordinarily difficult to have people who would dedicate themselves to come together for a practice in person. And I think for some time I was building levels of resentment or confusion and frustration with that. But it hit me that even sitting here went through these screens, this is connection. So I'm going to pick this back up. And so that's why I scheduled this for this morning, and that's why I'm here today. And I want to read a poem, because this is the poem that I read immediately following that meditation, where I was feeling very much, and I even shared in the sharing session, that in my meditation practice I felt like a seed pod cracking open and being watered by the Sangha in this silent room of people. It was watering something in me and bringing something alive. And that sentiment was shared by everybody in the room. Everybody in the room was like, yeah, that's what this does for me too. Most people didn't even know each other's names, but they come together regularly and just share that space, and how beautiful it was. And then I read this. This is Wendell Berry, the farmer poet Wendell Berry. And this is from his book called The Broken Ground, and this is the poem, The Broken Ground. The opening out and out, body yielding body. The breaking through which the new comes, perching above its shadow on the piling up, darkened, broken old husks of itself. Bud opening to flower, opening to fruit, opening to the sweet marrow of the seed. Taken from what was, from what could have been. What is left is what is. Those last lines, bud opening to flower, opening to fruit, opening to the sweet marrow of the seed, taken from what was, from what could have been. What is left is what is. Let's just sit for a while together in a few moments of silent space. So this morning's sit I have named Homecoming. Partially because I'm coming to journey home again to begin this practice with you all. But partially also because of all the things that a homecoming entails. And it's so many things for so many of us. For some of us, home is a safe place with family meals and gentle caregivers work us through our mistakes and our plunders and our accidents and all the things that we do. For some of us, homecoming means coming to a space of abandonment and of pain. For some of us, it simply means that temporary space that you're in until you move to the next temporary space. And there's so many experiences that we have of home. But no matter what it is, I think that we all understand there is a feeling and a process when we are tethered back to a space. No matter the experience of the space, the idea there is the tether, is the returning. Because in a returning, there is an opportunity. When we return to something, there's an opportunity for a second look. There's an opportunity for a space of understanding. We're coming back different. We're coming back changed. Like bees that leave the hive and go and collect all of the pollen and the nectar and return, we come back carrying different things with us. Some of those things will nurture. As we've aged and we've gone through these experiences, even if we've cultivated really unhealthy habits around that process, we've still gained some wisdom of time. We've gained some knowledge of space and of growth. We've gone to farther places and we've returned. That's widening our perspective. That's wisdom and knowledge. And when we return home, we come back transformed so that we can transform that space. And in many ways, that space has transformed greatly. I don't know if anyone else, well, I do know that someone else here, others here that participate in this morning session together, no matter when you're participating, I know that you've had the experience of returning to a place and seeing it completely changed. Just this week, Angela and I were driving through a part of Portland we once lived in, and we couldn't even remember where our home was because it's all been bulldozed and all those old homes. We lived in an upstairs apartment, and you had to access the apartment through this back gravel parking lot and go up these rickety old stairs to get into the apartment. And that building was entirely gone, and it's all new build condominiums, and the whole street is different. And that's one example, but obviously we want to continue that metaphor and go deeper. Coming back into ourselves, into this internal space, this body that's carried pain and shame. Coming here can be opening up some old wounds. And I think the benefit of the practice of breath and of compassion means shared suffering. To have that ability to share the suffering in the moment without walking away, without turning away or closing ourselves off from it, but recognizing that I can sit with the pain in a different way now. This is not a suggestion that if you are experiencing physical pain, chronic pain, emotional pain in your body that you need to just deal with it. Just sit down and experience it. This is a practice. It takes time, and it takes a lot of back and forth and in and out. And there are days when I can't bear to be in my pain body, and it's so difficult. And there are days that I can sit and meditate and sit in a half lotus position with my feet crossed and breathe and just be with the physical and the emotional pain and really witness it and love it and have kindness towards myself. But I don't know from day to day which one those will be, but I do know that as I maintain a practice, I will be able to be there more and be there longer. And honestly, as long as you are trying and you are giving yourself to this practice, this dedication to learning to love yourself through presence of being, you're going to be with yourself more than not, more than you were before. It's a harm reduction practice. We're not immediately stepping into perfection. We're not stepping into an abandonment. This is not a practice of feeling good all the time. I think this is why many people abandon the practice shortly after starting, is they start to recognize that honeymoon of how great you feel when you first begin the meditation and the yoga and the breathing. When that goes away, you feel like I failed. I don't know why. I meditate every day and I'm miserable. I'm depressed. I'm anxious. I'm exhausted. I'm in pain. Yeah. But have you begun to transform your relationship to being miserable? Have you begun to be okay with not being okay? Because I think that this misery and this pain and this depression, I think it's something that's going to be around for a long time. And it's going to come and go. And I would much rather be able to know that I'm going to stay in my body through those temporary periods of suffering than to be in a place that I feel like I have to leave my body every time it comes up. So that's why we breathe. In through the nose, filling the belly, and out. One of my favorite stories is a story of a monk who was asked, the monk's teacher had just died, and was asked, when upon arriving, he was being picked up by someone, and they picked him up and they said, "Hello, brother, how are you?" And he looks at him and he says, "I could not be better." He says, "Oh, brother, come on. You can be honest with me. We're old friends. You could tell me the truth." "What do you mean I couldn't be better? Your teacher just died. Isn't that terribly sad? Aren't you miserable? Aren't you depressed? Aren't you confused and angry?" And the monk sat for just a breath and said, Yes, I'm all of that. And I could not be better. There is nothing that could be happening in this moment that would make me better than I am, and nothing that will make me worse. In this moment, I am feeling what I'm feeling, and it couldn't be better than it is. So I'm not going to suffer that it's not better. I'm going to be in the space where I know and understand that I could not be better. Creates this amazingly transformative power of truth that allows us to move beyond the niceties. Hey, how you doing? Oh, good. You? Good. Great. And then we walk on with our day. It's an ability to be honest. And then when we're honest with ourselves and with each other, we don't have that's one less fight we have in our day. That's one less place that an energy of struggle goes to. Now we've removed the energy of struggle from something. And then we can do that again. And we can do that again. We can continue to disempower the struggle against suffering and to be with it. To be with suffering, and then suffering transforms to compassion, to shared suffering. Now we're sharing this space. Now we have compassion. And in compassion comes being witnessed. It becomes being the witness. It becomes understanding that we're not isolated, we're not alone. It becomes being more patient with ourselves and one another. It becomes checking in. A quick phone call or a text message every now and then. When somebody crosses your mind or comes into your heart, you just send them a message. Hey, I just love you, and I just want you to know that I love you. Clothes are done. That all comes with compassion, because I know that I have friends that I don't stay in contact with enough. And I don't stay in contact mostly because I feel my insecurities tell me that I'm unimportant. So I don't need to message them. They're probably doing great. It's fine. But my wisdom and my knowledge of proximity, time, space, all the things that I've learned since I was home last, home in that relationship, whatever, all the things can tell me, can inform me that, hey, send them a message, tell them you love them, check in. I've got friends that we invite each other knowing full well that the other person won't be able to come, but we invite each other just so that they know that they're included. And I've got a couple friends that do that for me, knowing that I'm not probably going to come out at that time. But there is something so... Let's let that buzzer go. There is something so empowering about inclusion. So that's what it is to have a homecoming. Let's finish this session this morning in love and in kindness and in gratitude for being here with just a few more moments of silence. Again, I encourage you to utilize the chat feature, communicate with one another, and after this moment of silence, we'll visit the chat and see if there's any questions, comments, or anything at all. Okay, friends. Continue to utilize this practice through your day. And if you can, find a group of people to sit in a room with in silence. I'm going to begin the meditations here at Journey Home. I think I should be back on Monday. Soon I will have a more solid schedule. I've just got to figure out some of the things that are happening in my life right now and create space for all of this. But this is a priority now. So you are welcome to come and join us here. In fact, I'm going to show you what it is here, briefly before we go. So this is Journey Home when it's set up for meditations. Plenty of space for you to come and sit and be with others. So thanks for being here. And before we go, let's just look at the comments briefly. Let's check the chat. From Nicole. It says, hi, Michael. I'm at home thankful for the peace and quiet, and I'm glad to join you here again this morning. I am glad you are here as well, Nicole, and I'm glad you are there as well. I'm glad that you are in a space of peace and quiet and that we are sharing these breaths together. Truly. That's the only comment I see coming in, but I don't get to see all of the comments on all of the formats. So wherever you are today, I hope you are having a lovely few breaths. Thanks, friends. Hari Om.